The atmosphere is setting up for something potentially historic, and I need to walk you through exactly what I'm seeing because the next several days could bring one of the most significant weather events of the winter season. We've got Arctic air locked in place across the eastern two-thirds of the country, with temperatures running 20 to 35 degrees below normal. We've got lake effect snow bands so intense they could drop 40 inches in some locations. And we've got a potential nor'easter taking aim at the East Coast this weekend that multiple models are showing could become a full-blown blizzard. Add to all of this a February outlook that suggests we're nowhere near done with winter, and you've got a pattern that cold and snow lovers will remember for a long time. So let me break down everything you need to know as of this Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. Let's start with the cold, because it's the foundation for everything else that's happening. The Arctic air is firmly entrenched east of the Rockies, stretching all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Even Florida is running below normal right now. Temperature anomalies this evening are sitting 20 to 30 degrees below where they should be. And remember, late January is already climatologically the coldest time of the winter season. We're not comparing this to some mild spring baseline. We're significantly colder than the coldest part of winter is supposed to be. The source region for this Arctic air stretches all the way from Canada back to Russia. This is a genuine Siberian air mass that's dropped south through Canada and flooded into the eastern United States. The winds have been breezy across the Great Lakes and eastern Ohio Valley, but they should relax somewhat after midnight. That means Wednesday morning wind chills won't be quite as brutal as they could be, but we're still dealing with sub-zero readings across the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and New England. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now, let's move on. The most extreme wind chills are parked over southeastern Canada. Our friends in Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec are dealing with wind chills of 40 below or colder. But don't think the lower 48 is escaping the misery. Wednesday morning is going to require serious bundling up if you're heading out to work or school. Wind chills of 20 to 30 degrees below zero are expected across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and through the Northeast. This is dangerous cold that demands respect. As we push through the week into Thursday morning, those 10, 20, and 30 below zero wind chills continue favoring the Great Lakes, Midwest, and Northeast. But watch what happens as we approach the weekend. The cold starts shifting south. By Saturday and Sunday, sub-zero wind chills are going to extend down into Arkansas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, North Georgia, Tennessee, the Western Carolinas, and Virginia. Southern states that rarely see this kind of cold are going to be dealing with genuinely Arctic conditions. By Sunday, February 1st, that cold is pushing toward the eastern seaboard. And that's critically important because it's one of the key ingredients for the winter storm we're tracking for this weekend. Before we get to that potential nor'easter, let me talk about what's happening right now with lake effect snow, because the numbers are absolutely staggering. Lake effect snow is taking center stage through the middle of this week, and these are the kind of totals that make national headlines. These are very narrow bands of snow, typically only 5 to 10 miles wide, but within those bands, snowfall rates of 1 to 3 inches per hour are piling up fast. If you're lucky enough, or unlucky enough, depending on your perspective, to be under one of these bands, you could see truly remarkable accumulations. The lake effect off Lake Superior into the eastern upper peninsula of Michigan could produce up to 40 inches of snow in the hardest hit locations. That's not a typo. 40 inches. Western lower Michigan from Traverse City down through Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids is looking at 8 to 12 inches in the most favored spots. Western upstate New York off Lake Ontario is getting hammered as well with significant accumulations. Even portions of Ontario north and east of Toronto could see a major lake effect band set up through midweek. Out west, don't forget about the Pacific Northwest. A storm system is bringing rain to western Oregon that will transition to higher elevation snow across the Cascades in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington state. Seattle and Olympia could see over 2 inches of rain, potentially causing minor flooding. Meanwhile, the mountains are getting buried with snow that will help replenish the ski resorts. The Cascades in Washington state are seeing particularly heavy accumulations. Now let's get to what everyone is watching closely, the potential nor'easter that could impact the East Coast this weekend. The setup is coming together, and while there's still significant uncertainty in the exact track, the potential for a major storm is very real. Here's how this works. We have cold air locked in place across the eastern United States. That's ingredient number 1, and it's already handled. The energy is coming from 2 sources. The polar jet from the north is sending a piece of energy southward. At the same time, the subtropical jet is becoming more active now that La Niña is fading toward neutral conditions. When these 2 pieces of energy phase together, they can close off a powerful low-pressure system. The ensemble members are showing low pressure developing right off the southeast coast, offshore of the Carolinas. By noon Saturday, the average pressure is around 997 millibars. By Saturday night, it's deepening quickly to 975 millibars on average. And by Sunday at noon, we're looking at 958 millibars on average. Some of the more aggressive model runs are showing pressures dropping into the 940 millibar range. That would be an intense bomb cyclone off the northeast coast producing a major blizzard. The critical question is the track, and right now we're dealing with a 50-mile wobble factor that changes everything. The European model shows snow developing across the Carolinas Friday into Friday night, then the system deepening as it moves up the coast. By Sunday morning, it's mainly offshore of the mid-Atlantic, but literally by only 50 miles. If this system wobbles just 50 miles to the west, we're looking at a completely different scenario with a major blizzard for Atlantic City, Washington, D.C., Virginia Beach, and southern New Jersey. If it wobbles 50 miles to the east, impacts are much more limited. Either way, this solution produces a major blizzard for Nova Scotia and eastern Canada. The GFS model is more aggressive with its latest run, bringing snow into eastern Tennessee and eastern Kentucky. I personally think this is a bit of an outlier with how far west it tracks, but it illustrates the potential. This solution would be a major blizzard for the mid-Atlantic and northeast coast, particularly the I-95 corridor going into Sunday. The AI Ensemble mean, which has been performing well this winter season, shows the storm just offshore, but getting fairly close to Boston, Cape Cod, and Providence. It's literally 50 miles offshore of the mid-Atlantic coast, close enough to watch very carefully. The national blend of models, which combines all the available data into a most likely scenario, is showing some impressive numbers. Northeast North Carolina is looking at close to a foot of snow. Coastal Virginia and eastern Virginia into Maryland and Delaware are in that same high-impact zone. The Jersey coast through Long Island into portions of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and eastern Massachusetts are showing significant accumulations. Down East Maine is also in line for notable snowfall. Could this shift east in the coming days and become a non-event for most of the coast? Yes. Could it shift west and become a historic blizzard? Absolutely. Could it stay right where it is with moderate impacts for coastal areas? Also possible. We're still figuring out the final storm track, but here's what I can tell you with confidence. This system is going to produce strong winds regardless of the exact track. These types of strong, low-pressure systems, when they really wind up tight, bring powerful northerly and northwesterly winds. Whether the storm tracks offshore or onshore, areas from Boston to New York City, down through D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia need to be prepared for gusty wind conditions through the weekend. If we get snow with those winds, we're talking about significant blowing and drifting that makes travel treacherous. Even without heavy snow, the wind alone could cause problems. Let me give you the regional breakdown of what to watch for with this potential storm based on current model guidance. For the Carolinas, eastern sections from Raleigh to the coast, including Wilmington and the Outer Banks, are in the potential impact zone. Friday night into Saturday is the window to watch. Snow accumulations are possible depending on how quickly the system organizes. For Virginia, the eastern half of the state, including Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Richmond, is most favored for snow if the storm tracks close enough. Accumulations could be significant with this system. For the Mid-Atlantic, the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. metro areas are in a wait-and-see mode. A westward wobble brings major snow. An eastward wobble keeps you on the edge with lighter accumulations. Philadelphia is in a similar position with potentially higher totals given its location further north. For New Jersey, the coast and southern portions are most vulnerable to a close tracking storm. Atlantic City could see major impacts if the system wobbles west. For New York City and Long Island, you're in the zone where moderate to significant accumulations are possible depending on track. The national blend is showing meaningful snow totals for Long Island especially. For southern New England, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts are looking at the highest probability of significant snow from this system. Boston and Providence are close to that offshore track and could see substantial accumulations even with the current model solutions. For down east Maine, Portland through Augusta, and up the coast, you're positioned to see snow with this system. How much depends on the final track? Beyond this weekend system, we need to talk about February because the pattern is not letting up. In fact, it might be getting more intense. The first week of February, roughly the 1st through the 8th, features a ridge of high pressure over the western United States and low pressure associated with that closed-off system offshore the East Coast. This keeps Arctic air flooding into the eastern states, while western North America, including Alaska and western Canada, sees milder Pacific air. Nor'easter threats continue for the East Coast during this period. Clipper systems may graze the Great Lakes, keeping lake-effect snow active. The second week of February, the 8th through the 15th, shows the Arctic air reloading and spreading more widespread across the north and east. The cold is not going away. Clipper systems continue diving into the northern plains through the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Those nickel and dime snows of 1 to 3 inches here and 2 to 4 inches there become common across Chicagoland, Des Moines, Sioux Falls, and Rapid City. The third week of February, the 15th through the 22nd, is where things could get really interesting. The stratospheric polar vortex appears to be setting up for a potential split around mid-February. If that split occurs, we would see some genuinely intense Arctic air, possibly even Siberian air, leaking down from the stratosphere all the way to the surface across the eastern United States. This would be one harsh February, especially the second half of the month. The temperature anomalies during this period could rival or exceed what we're experiencing right now. This is the time frame to watch for a potentially major winter storm somewhere in the central and eastern United States as that leading edge of Siberian air pushes through the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Winter 2026 is delivering in a major way, and based on what I'm seeing in the long-range data, we're nowhere close to being done. Stay warm, stay prepared, and I'll keep you updated as that weekend storm comes into sharper focus.